It takes us a long time, many of us more longer than others, to come up out of the darkness of our feelings of unworthiness, of unlovableness, of allowing that liquidity to happen, of feeling safe to be in the presence of love. When I first experienced my guru loving me, my mind kept flickering with the thoughts of, if he only knew. And then I realized that he did know. And he was still loving me. And it took me through the and whatever you are, however you are at this moment, when you can accept that you are lovable, then the fear starts to dissolve. It's allowing your own beauty. It's allowing the beauty of your soul, which is behind your personality. It's behind all that stuff. Just another radiant bit of light, another soul. And I think at this moment, it's nothing violent to do. You just observe the kind of sadness, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of separateness, the feeling of pain. You just watch it and allow it. And don't get too fierce about it, or don't feel too deprived about it, and don't milk the self-pity of it. You know, just notice that it's just a passing show. It's just another place your mind is grabbing. It's all mind. You realize that. The only thing you're stuck in is not even history. It's just mind. It's a model you have of who you think you are and who you think everybody else is. That's all it is. That's exactly what's causing your suffering at this moment, is your own thought forms.
Welcome to day 2 of Shadows of Six. I am so excited for today. Yes, it was Ram Dass. I am so excited for today because not only do I get to hear about all of the things that happened for you yesterday after our call. So many of you have messaged me and been like, holy crap, this thing came through. I had this realization. Oh my God, I discovered this core belief. And like, this is what we are doing here. We are uncovering, we are illuminating, because when we have awareness, what can we do with awareness? We can freaking change it, right? We can have a decision. We have a decision to make. We have a choice point. So it's never about, oh my God, like there's nothing left to uncover. There's always more. And so everything that most of you have shared with me outside of the masterclass yesterday in the DMs and in emails, I'm loving it, but I want to drop it here in the chat. Tell me, how are you feeling today? What came up for you? If there's anything you want to share with us, any insights you want to share, or feelings that you're having, or aha moments, what are they? Go ahead and drop them in the chat now as we are starting to settle into this space and prepare for our next step in this journey of uncovering. I am so freaking excited to see what came through for you all. And I want to remind you that we do have the honey pot raffle going on. You guys are fucking crushing it, by the way. Okay. Like adding up the points has been quite its own job in itself, because you guys are all going so hard and I absolutely love it. Today we are going to have a task. I'm going to give it to you now. So you already have it. We don't have to talk about it later on. You're going to have homework at the end of today, just like you had homework yesterday. And I want you to take a picture of you doing the homework and tag any aha moments, or share it and tag me in your stories. Okay. So that's your homework. Take a picture of you doing the homework, and that's how you can get points for today's honey pot raffle challenge. So super hyped for that. Can't wait to see what's coming through for you all and what continues to come through as we move through this. So I shared a little bit yesterday Honey pot, that's cute. Yeah, the honey pot. I was like, because I kept saying cash money honey, and then I'm like, oh, honey pot, that sounds fun. Yesterday was definitely thinking about how much I post vanilla content on platforms. If you think you are posting vanilla content on platforms, we're going to talk about why that's happening today. If you're looking to go deeper into that, I really highly suggest that you all join Messaging Magic if you're feeling like, oh, I want to get past that, because it's $97. A few of you have already joined that are in here. It's literally $97. It's a mini mind. And we can jump in and you can have back and forth with me in Voxer when we do that, because vanilla content is like it's always something that we're always trying to expand upon, is like our level of expression in our content. Today, we're going to talk about what might be getting in the way of that. But again, action is always the step. I want 20K months, and what came up was that it's unknown. So my sneaky little shadow is avoiding the unknown. Of course. It's scary to think about making more money than we've ever made before. And so this, again, is like the first step in the process, is how can we uncover where this is showing up, and then why is it showing up, which is today, what patterns of sabotage is it creating, so that we can then start to change it and create the results that we desire. 20K months, 100K years, multiple six-figure years, whatever it is. Who else had some epiphanies around the amount of money that they want to make and why they actually don't want it? I would love to hear. It's always interesting to see what comes up for people. So as you all are kind of thinking about that, I want to take a second here. And I want to share with you how I started to realize the patterns that were showing up in my business that were stopping me from scaling faster, that were stopping me from making the amount of money that I desired. I shared yesterday that after I had my first 100K quarter, I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck is happening right now? And that was the catalyst for a lot of growth inside of my business, a lot of growth in me as a human, and a lot of awareness that I gained. And I remember, like, after I started the process of doing the work to uncover like where these shadows were, the inner child healing and all of that, I had like a couple days prior to that, I had like this huge breakthrough when I went to see this tantric healer around like an inner child wound that was coming up for me. And I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see it in the chat if you resonate, or if this is your story too. I'm a person with complex trauma. Like, I grew up in a pretty abusive and neglectful home. My parents, my mother who was an alcoholic, my father was a workaholic. And I had a sister that was 9 years older than me, who I saw a lot of things I shouldn't have seen at my young age. And so that formed me. Our early childhood experiences form us. And, that's a huge reason why I do the work that I do today, and why I work with coaches who have a history of trauma, is because that shit shows up, babe. Like, there's new levels that come through as we start to receive at higher levels, as we start to have relationships with people. Like, it's all showing up in our business. Mother alcoholic, father addicted, gambler, sister and brother are 6 and 7. I hear you, Tammy. I hear you and I see you. And again, this isn't like comparison. Like, it could just be as simple as like you didn't perceive that your needs were met as a child, and that can be life altering. It doesn't have to be that you had some significant trauma, like maybe some of us are sharing. It could just simply be that you had parents that didn't validate you or weren't responsive to you. And that can create a lot of belief systems that are now hindering you from being the fullest, most expressed version of yourself, because it doesn't feel safe for you to do that. And, I was at this place where all of my stuff started coming up after that 100K quarter. And I started to do the work, right? I took myself through this process of creating the safety and everything that I teach in Ascension. I'll talk about that in a moment, but I was going through this process, and I remember there was this like pivotal moment where I was sitting on the couch. It was like 9 o'clock at night in my old apartment. And I like realized it was this weird thing. It was like all of a sudden, like a light bolt of awareness came in. And I was sitting on my couch and I realized, holy shit, like, I'm not seeing myself as who I am today. I'm still seeing myself as like this 18-year-old girl who is broken, addicted, and homeless. And I'm not actually seeing the woman who has rebuilt her life for over 10 years, you know, went back to school, got a master's degree, been a therapist, created this going to be multiple six-figure business at the time. And I was like, I'm not seeing that in myself. I'm still seeing myself through the eyes of this wounded little girl who was broken and helpless and had no idea what the fuck was going on, right? And was just like looking for something to validate her or make her feel whole or worthy. And it was like, all of a sudden a veil got lifted. Have any of you ever had a moment like this? And it was like this veil got lifted. And over the next few days, it was like my higher power started to drop in all of this awareness of like, these are the patterns. These are your protectors that are showing up in your life and are creating these patterns of sabotage, right? That used to serve you, but they're no longer serving you anymore. And it was like, I couldn't turn away. I couldn't unsee what was being shown to me. And I finally like had this huge awareness that I was so scared of being exposed in my business that I had formed this representative character of myself to put forward. And it was showing up in my content. It was showing up in my offers. And it was like all these ideas of who I thought I had to be and how I thought I had to act in order to fit in and be a top earner in the industry. You know, I had fabricated this persona to show up in my business. And it was like, this just can no longer be. I came to this point, and maybe you all feel this too, where you've come to this point of awareness and you're like, fuck, I can see how this is not going to be it. Like, this is not who I'm supposed to be. I am ready for like this huge up level. Like, I know who I could be. That's been dropped in. I've been gifted that vision over and over. I know who I could be. How many of you see yourselves on stages and writing books and hosting retreats and running huge programs and like doing all these things? Like, I see the vision in my mind so fucking clear. I know who I could be, but I was living in who I was. And then all of a sudden the veil got lifted and I knew I was no longer that person. But how do I fully embody this vision? How do I activate these parts of myself? How do I create wholeness so that I can manifest that vision in my life so I can create this? But it started with that moment of awareness. It was like, okay, I have to let go of all these ideas about who I'm supposed to be. And I have to stop letting my past and the stories and who I think other people want me to be or need me to be dictate how I'm showing up in my business. And that is scary as fuck, because the questions come next of, what if I'm rejected? What if people don't like me? What if they stop buying if I make a pivot or change my messaging? What if people don't understand me when I start to express myself through my values and my beliefs? What if it all goes to shit and this is actually a pattern of sabotage? Then we get in our head and we start going, well, am I sabotaging by doing this? And da-da-da-da. And this is the problem with having way too much fucking awareness. Right? This is the problem with having way too much awareness and knowing way too much about ourselves. But in that moment, I knew it wasn't sabotage, and you probably know it too. And I knew I had to like really find, where were these unconscious patterns coming from? What parts of me were contributing to these patterns? And how could I start to peel away, strip down, and expose, take away the layers of myself that I have created to be the representative in my business so I could show up as me, so I could be fully expressed as myself, as the version of me that I am meant to be to serve my clients, and stop trying to be somebody who somebody told me to be a long time ago. How can I release the fear of like, oh my God, they're not going to like me, and the rejection and all of that, and the patterns, the unconscious patterns connected to that are stopping me, so that I could attract a new level of clients, so that I could stop letting fear make decisions for me. And I can tell you, over the next 3 months, once that happened, that was like in February of 2021, over the next 3 months, I walked through the process that I'm doing inside of Ascension, and this is a piece of that. And at the end of it, I had my first $52,000 month, which is fucking insane to say. Like, I still, when I say those numbers, sometimes they blow my fucking mind. And I hosted my second retreat, and I was able to show up for my clients in such a new way at that retreat because of the work that I did. And the power that was activated for those clients literally resulted in like huge transformations for them, leaving 9-to-5s, doubling their income, raising their prices. It was insane. But more than the money, and this is what I want you all to hear, I saw myself for the first time. I saw myself. I don't give a shit about the money. The money is a byproduct of what I'm telling you right now. I saw myself for the first time. I stopped seeing myself through the eyes of the wounded little girl who didn't get her needs met and had all this shame and had all this trauma. And I saw myself as other people see me for the first time in my life. I was literally just having this conversation with a private client who is wildly successful, multiple business owner, has had huge success, many degrees, all the things. And she's finally seeing herself for the first time. She's seeing herself through the way other people see her, in her power. And that was why I continued to have the huge months and have the success that I have today, is because I got to a place where I was finally able to see that. And this is why I created the Ascension program. That's why I created this program. It's the inner game, guys. Like, it's the inner game that allows us to rise to multiple six figures. Whether you're just hitting your first 5K month, 10K month, 20K month, 30K month, 40K month, I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever it is that you're not getting yet that you want, it's an inner game that's going to get you there. I guarantee it, because I know after our conversation yesterday and everything that that I know about all of you who are here is like, you already know what to do. You already know what to do. And it's so much more of like, okay, well, how do I get alignment inside of me? How do I start standing in my power? How do I clear out all these channels? How do I reprogram the beliefs? How do I drop the energetic resistance and the patterns that are slowing me down from scaling so that I can hit this next level, so that I can create that vision that I so clearly have in my mind of knowing I'm meant for more, and truly start to create that, co-create that in my business. And when you do this, like, the money just starts to flow easily. Things get fucking insanely like easy, to the point where you're like, can it really be this easy? I'm talking about results. There's always work and effort involved. And I think we're all smart enough to know what I mean there. But like, things just start to happen easier. You attract a different type of client. There's no more like, oh, clients who are super needy and like need all these things. It's like, okay, these are clients that are like ready to do the work, ready to commit to change, and I know from working as a therapist, and maybe some of you can relate if you've been doing like a lot of trauma coaching or healing work with your clients, like, there are some people who might not be a good fit for you, that aren't a match for your energy, and that's okay. Like, we're allowed to desire a level of client who's a little bit more resourced and ready to do the work. And we start to attract them when we lead ourselves in this way. And so I share this with you all because we're going to tap into your protectors today. We're going to start to understand your protectors. We're going to see where these patterns are coming up and how where the sabotage is coming from. But before I jump into that, I'm going to go ahead and make this invitation that I have for all of you to Ascension. I know you've seen me talking about it if you follow me on social media, but this program it's everything. It's literally my life's work. Like, if you're someone who's looking to truly walk through those 7 gates of ascension that I was referring to yesterday, just like Anana, to strip back the layers, to get down to the core of where the resistance is living, what's holding you back from fully ascending to these next level, how to disrupt these patterns of sabotage, and how to fully like rebirth yourself and embody this next level version of the multiple 6-figure business owner that you desire to be, and create this unfuckwithable self-belief and confidence, then this program is really going to be the place. It's going to be a home for you. It's going to be a sanctuary for you. The special invitation that I have for everyone here is that you can join today until Sunday for $888. There is this extended payment plan of 4 payments of $222. So if you want to join, this is an 8-week group coaching program. You're going to get 8 group coaching calls. You're going to have a core curriculum of pre-recorded and live trainings that are going to help you walk through these gates of ascension. And then you're also going to have a Slack channel where I'm going to come in and do coaching 2 days a week. And you're also going to get support and sisterhood. So if you're interested in joining, the link is now in the comments if you'd like to join, or you can just DM me and ask questions afterward. So this program is the extension of what we're doing here today and tomorrow. But for today, what we're really focusing on is getting clear on your protectors and the parts of you that are creating these patterns of sabotage. So I want us all right now to really sit and reflect. So I want you to take a second, no matter where you are. If you're driving, obviously don't do this. But if you're sitting somewhere and you're in a quiet space, I just want you to sit, start to settle in and connect to your body. Take a deep breath in and let it go. Let's do that 2 more times. Deep breath in and release. One more, make it the deepest and longest breath you've taken today. And let it go. And I want you to take your right hand and place it on your heart, keeping your eyes closed, staying connected to your body. And I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to allow yourself to sit with the response that your body and mind give you when I ask you this question. Who were you before they told you who you should be? Just allow whatever's coming through to come through. You might have visuals, you might have words, you might have sounds. Just stay with whatever's happening for you right now. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper with you. Who are you without the trauma and the stories that you've created, that life has created? Who are you at your core? Go ahead and take a deep breath in and out. Allowing your hand to fall back down to your lap. And take it a second to listen to your body and asking if there's any intuitive movement that you'd like to take before you come back into the space, maybe rolling the shoulders, opening and closing the jaw, collapsing and opening the chest, whatever feels good for you. And then I want you to open your eyes and I want you to come back to the space and I want you to meet me in the chat. Was there anything significant that you heard, saw, or remembered when you were asked that question? And I want you to share it with us in the chat, because I know for me, I ask myself that question a lot because it's really easy, limitless, amazing. It's really easy to get lost in the stories, free. I'm just thinking about it. Mine is love. Mine always comes back to love. And so this is the essence of who we are. And we can't be limitless and we can't be free and we can't be joyful and we can't be vibrant if we are not whole and integrated within ourselves. If we're fragmented and fractured and we have these different parts of ourselves that are playing out protection patterns and fear-based thinking and fear-based responses, then we can't be our full whimsical and wonderlust self. That's amazing. I love that. Like, we can't be that, but that's who we are. And when we're in a place of inauthenticity, it feels like confusion. It feels like resistance. It feels like hardship. It feels like struggle. How many have you feel like there's tons of resistance in your business when you go to do certain things? Or how many of you feel like you're not being your authentic express self? Like there's another layer to come through. Like there's something missing in how you're showing up or how you're expressing yourself. Or it feels confusing to communicate your magic and how you help people. It's because there's a layer, another layer, and then another layer in these parts of ourselves that block that out. But when we come back to the truth of who we are, we can hold that as our North Star and remember that the work that we're doing today and the work that we're going to be doing always is always taking us back to that authentic truth, to our core essence of who we are. And from there, then we can truly begin to rise. And we can use that as always, almost like our safe space to be in, of like, that is who I am. And anything that I'm finding here today, anything that I'm experiencing here today is just another opportunity to shed another layer so I can fully embody this truth of who I am. So now that we've done that, I have one more question for you. And then we're going to jump into really understanding the protectors and the patterns that are coming up. But I want to be clear on where we all stand. So you joined this today, you joined this mini course because you knew that there was something that you're trying to achieve. There's some next level, right? When we say next level, it's so fucking subjective. That's why I usually tell people not to use it in their messaging because it's so subjective. But like, what is your next level for your business that you've been trying to achieve but haven't been able to? Because the whole messaging for this program was you've been doing the strategy courses and there's something that you want, but you haven't been able to get there and you're questioning why. So I know that all of you are here because that landed for you in some way. So what is the thing that you're trying to achieve that feels like, why the fuck am I not there yet? Basically, like you're hitting a wall or there's some resistance or some slowdown that doesn't quite make sense to you. What is your next level that you're trying to achieve? Go ahead and pop that in the chat so I can fully understand where everybody is, because as we move in to this next part of the training, we're going to start examining some patterns that you have. And I'm going to be asking you to jump in the chat and giving feedback. And it'll help me to kind of understand you a bit more if I know where you're trying to go and maybe even what you think is stopping you from getting there. Stability in my business. Does that mean consistent months? Does that mean consistent income months? Absolutely. I'm sure we all can relate to that. Being an entrepreneur is a lot of uncertainty and it can feel like instability. Sourcing the right clients. Okay. Running my business my own way rather than how others have told me I should. More consistent income, sharing freely. I love that, Malia. I love all of this. So as we're thinking about these things and I go into the protection patterns, I'm trying not to give feedback as I'm reading these because I'm waiting. I'm like, shh, Kitty, don't go into it. Consistent income and working with dream clients. I can relate to everyone. Yeah. Consistent income. So a lot of you are looking for more consistent income, more stability. I love that. And so that is something that we deserve to have. We deserve to have consistent income, and it's very possible to have consistent income. I've had consistent income in my business for 3 years. And it blows my mind sometimes when I think about that, because I'm like, oh shit, like I can't even believe it's already been 3 years. And like I get to say I've had consistent income for 3 years as an entrepreneur, which isn't the case for most, right? Don't get me wrong, there's ups and downs. There's always ups and downs. But that consistency of a recurring revenue or income that makes you feel safe is very important. And that's something that we do inside of Rich, Resilient, and Regulated. But a lot of the times, if it's not a strategy thing, like if you know how to make money, then what do we think is stopping us from getting there? So that's my next question for all of you. What do you think is stopping you from having the consistent income, from sourcing the right clients, from having the stability? Whatever your response was, what do you think is one thing, just one thing that might be creating some resistance or slowing down the process and that happening? For some people, it might be inconsistency in themselves, right? For some people, that's a problem. I don't think that's necessarily the problem for most of the people that I see here today. Getting tripped up and doing things the right way, which totally pulls me out of my own alignment and creativity. Oh, Malia. Yeah, this is something that we work on a lot in Rebellious. And it's, I was literally just having this conversation with a private client in Voxer before I jumped on here, because all of the expectations and pressure that we put on ourselves to follow the rules and do the marketing right and do the sales right and follow the scripts and do the fucking things. And it's like, that's something that's going to be a problem for, you're going to see your protector in here. You're going to see her in here. You're going to see, but that's a problem. That's a specific problem for people that have certain type of protectors, as opposed to, let's see, getting clarity on my offers and not stopping myself because I don't have it right. There she is again, making sure the vision aligns with my client's vision and growth. Okay, yes. So like your words are aligning with your client's vision and growth, that there's congruency there. Dialing in my focus on high value tasks. Ooh, I love this. Okay. So you're going to see your protector here. And like, listen, we all have other things. Like I've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, ADHD. Like we all have certain things. I try not to attach to my labels though, because I don't like to. But we do have very real, sometimes cognitive things that are sometimes intervening. Deep-rooted beliefs around what it means to make a lot of money. Yeah, we found that out yesterday, huh, Emma? That was huge. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I want you guys to keep this in your mind, what you're saying here. And as we move into this next part of the training, where we're going to start talking about your representative, your protectors, and your patterns, I want you to look for where your protectors might be, who your protectors might be. So before we even get into the specific examples, it's important that we take a second and we understand. I was homeless for 5 years as a child, so I wonder if the instability is familiar. So there's probably some money moves there around poverty that I've worked through myself from being homeless. And I've worked with my clients as well. But pay attention when we get into the protectors, because you might see how some of that's showing up in regards to the money and the experience you had in childhood. So these protector parts that we're going to talk about were created to keep your shadows safe. So to keep those parts of yourself, like either the shame about being homeless, or even things about your appearance or your worthiness, any shadows that you have, any parts of yourself that you repressed, like we talked about yesterday, the protectors were created to keep those shadow aspects of yourself safe, to cloak yourself from people and your audience really seeing you. Like truly seeing you. Now, these protectors that we're going to talk about today have created strategies that served you for a period of time, but now they've actually become liabilities. There were things that you did to survive that protected you, but now you're still running off of the survival mechanisms and these protection patterns as a grown-ass woman with a successful business. All of you here have a successful business, but we're still running off of these protection and survival patterns. So they're no longer assets now like they used to be. Now they're liabilities. These patterns and the protectors and these parts that we're going to discuss today were birthed out of a place of resourcefulness and a desire to thrive. They derived because there was some part of you that needed to be met, seen, or loved, and now they're crying out for attention because they don't feel safe anymore. They don't feel like they're doing their job. They're trying to do their job, but they don't feel like they're doing their job, and they're on high alert all the time because they are running off of these unconscious beliefs, and therefore they're unrecognized. And so the patterns and strategies and survival templates that they used to serve you in such a beautiful way now are not serving, and they don't feel like they're doing their job. And so these parts were created because they wanted to keep you safe. There was something that happened to you somewhere along the line, whether it was childhood or someone told you something and they told you that you have to act a certain way in order to get your needs met, to be loved, to find belonging, to be accepted, or to be successful in your business. And so they started to create like these rules around how you have to conduct yourself and the patterns that you have to be. And we have to give these parts of ourselves respect. So as we jump into understanding the protectors, which is going to be pretty funny when we really get into describing each of these and seeing what resonates for each of us, I want us to remember that like these parts are damn fucking good at their job, and they deserve to be loved and respected for the function that they served in our lives. Okay, so this is not a process and like shaming these parts of ourselves. This is a process of honoring and recognizing these parts of ourselves and how they served us, and meeting them with love and asking them what they need. so that they no longer have to function from this protection pattern of trying to keep us safe, right? And trying to protect these shadow parts of ourselves so that we don't get discovered and experience a death of some kind, right? That's really what they're trying to protect us from. How many of you feel like you go into like a crazy fear response over nothing sometimes? How many of you feel like, oh my God, this feels like I might fucking die if I actually do this right now? And it's really not even that big of a thing. Like you start getting sweaty and like hot. Maybe you're going to post a post or say a thing or announce a new offer or something. And you literally are like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Like you start to go into this really extreme fear response. This is completely normal. And there's normally a protector part that we're going to talk about in a moment that will show up for you. But ultimately, it's because there is a piece of you that is trying to show up authentically, right? And then the fear response, the protector part comes up and says, no, don't do that. Don't post the thing. We need to get scared. We need to get freaked out. Your nervous system goes off the charts and you're like, right? And you create all these stories. Sometimes you might not even do the thing because of it. Sometimes you'll be able to regulate and see it through, right? To find some stability to see it through. So that anytime that happens, I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention because there's something that you are trying to let yourself be seen in that moment that feels really scary for you. So in those moments, it's really important to ask ourselves, what am I scared of being seen for right now? What projection from other people am I scared of receiving? What judgment am I scared of receiving right now? Because that will help you see what parts of yourself you've been hiding. So there's a little prompt for you as you move on throughout your life and start to see. So let's go ahead and jump in to identifying the protectors, because this is always a very fun experience. I'm actually going to share my screen here. Hold on. Share screen, so you guys can follow along. Can everyone see my screen? I was also, yeah, it happens. It does happen for sure. Okay. Where are you guys? Why can't I see you? All right, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so when we are, it's a little small, but I can see it. Okay. You know what? You guys will get the handout. I'd rather see your faces than have a small screen than do that. So there's a change in that. So we are going to now look at the protectors. So the protector parts are going to be pretty funny to examine. And I'm excited to see which ones land for all of you, because this is always a fun experience. I have pulled these protectors from my own parts, as well as the parts that I have seen in my clients over the past 3 years. So I want you to know that you're not limited to this list. You can always add other ones. These are, your parts are going to be completely unique to you. All right. So the first one we have, and this is one everyone can probably get along with, is the hustler. How many of you have a hustler part inside of you that wants to work really fucking hard and do all the things? We call her hustler honey in my world. So hustler honey is the part of you that wants to get the shit done. She is like ready to do the things, and she's running unconsciously off of the fear that if she slows down, if she sits still, if she's not in this busyness, then she's going to actually have to feel something. And if she feels something, she's scared of what might come up for her. The other pattern that hustler honey runs out is she'll do all the things. She'll work really hard. She'll work really hard. She'll work really hard to the point where she will burn herself out in an attempt to prove her worthiness. How many of you have had hustler honey show up for you in your life? I can tell you, she is my trauma response, my protector part that allowed me to build my business to where it is today. So she has definitely served a purpose, but when she is left unchecked, I burn out. And then I have a burnout wound. And then that burnout wound creates more protection patterns because all of our parts have other little parts. So then it will create a protection pattern in my life where I'm fucking scared to even like show up and take on more clients and take on more things because I'm like, oh, what if I burn out again? Hustler Honey creates the burnout wound, which then takes us into a different part where we shut down and don't even want to do anything or don't want to take on any clients, don't want to receive more money, don't want to take on more responsibility because we're scared we can't trust ourselves to slow the fuck down when we need to. Always, yep, here. Yeah. So you guys are like, yes, Hustler Honey is alive and well. So as we're going through this, if you have a journal in front of you, I want you to kind of maybe take notation to the ones that are really landing for you, because you're going to have some questions at the end to reflect on. The next one we have in our part, our protector part, is terminally unique Tina. Terminally unique Tina. She's different, y'all. You just don't get it. She's just so different than everybody. Like, she's really different. And no one is like her and no one gets her. And you certainly, things just don't work out for her. Or if they do work out for her, it's not because of anything anybody else helped her with. Like, she figured it out on her fucking own. She is absolutely unique. She's different, right? Certain things work out for you, but they're not going to work out for terminally unique Tina. How could they? She's so fucking unique. And the fact is that no one's ever going to understand her or thinks or know how she thinks or what she does, especially the coaches who try to put her in a box and teach her those cookie cutter rules. This one is so big and it comes up it lives really deep inside of us, and it's very subtle how it shows up. But she's hell-bent on being different and original. How many of you are like so fucking resistant to sounding like anybody else? You feel like you have to come up out of the box with these profound fucking ideas, like nothing can sound the same as someone else. And if someone else is sharing it, you sure as shit can't share it, right? Like this desire to be absolutely fucking unique and original stems from the fear that deep down she's actually quite average. And if she's average and like everyone else, then that will affirm her core wound that there's nothing special about her and she's invisible. This is my invisible child. Where are my invisible children from the family system? I was the invisible child. I want to be unique and different. I want to be unique and different because if I'm unique and different, then somehow I'll stand out from the rest and you'll love me more. Do we see how this plays out? This is that inner child shit. And I definitely used to be this way, called out, ouch, here. I love you all. This is all love, right? I see you and I love you anyway. Remember what we heard from Ram Dass in the beginning? I see you and I love you anyway. I know it's there and I love you anyway. I want you to see it and love you anyway. Because I get this one to my core. And one of the things, I don't know if anybody here is in recovery. Do I have any recovery sisters in here who go to meetings and stuff like that or have worked the 12 steps? Because inside the 12 steps, this is where I got the terminally unique term from. People come into the program and they're like, I'm different. The steps won't work for me. I'm different. I can't recover. This isn't going to work for me. And we laugh at them and we tell them that they're terminally unique. And the terminally unique means that you're going to fucking die because you think you're so much different than everybody else. Because substance abuse is a real thing and you will die if you continue to use. But in our business, we'll kill our business with this shit. We will kill our business if we let terminally unique Tina take the wheel. If we let her drive the bus, we're going to be constantly never feeling like we're good enough. We're going to feel like nobody gets us. Like our message doesn't make sense. And we have to somehow make it like this exuberant fucking Yoda fucking profound thing that people will get. And then they'll understand. And then they'll see me as the expert. Then they'll see me as the authority. Then they'll hire me when they see how much better I am than everybody. Because I'm unique, right? And it's like, what if who you are is just as good as everybody else who's doing the same thing as you, but you're just first a different type of person? What if you didn't have to be better than everybody? What if you didn't have to be unique? What if you didn't have to create original fucking ideas all the time? Guess what? There are no original ideas. We're all just teaching them in different ways. And we have different life experience that's perfect for our specific clients. So who here thinks they have terminally unique Tina? You can just drop a heart in the comments or raise your hand on the screen and I'll see you. I'll see you and I'll witness you for sure. Here's another one that's fun. We have a few of these, so we'll see. We might not go through all of them, but I want to hit on this one for sure. And this one is Martyr Martha. Hello, Martyr Martha. She loves being the sacrificial lamb. She tends to give all of herself for next to nothing to everyone because she has strong beliefs about how spiritual she is and how it's good to be charitable and how this is the right thing to do as a spiritual teacher. She loves to virtue signal, meaning she loves to let everybody else know just how selfless and righteous and spiritual she is. And obviously she's so spiritual and so heart-centered that she can't ask for more money. She can't ask for people to pay for her services. She can't talk about wanting money or making money online. She gets off on this because it makes her look selfless and generous. And if she looks selfless and generous, then she thinks that people will love her and she'll belong. She's like, look at how much I give and how much I sacrifice myself for others' needs. Aren't I so amazing? Don't you love me? Come down off the fucking cross, Martha. That's what we need you to do. How many of you feel like maybe your religious upbringing or spiritual beliefs or healing powers, gifts, might contribute to you feeling like a martyr? This was me. I went to school. I oscillate into the shadow for sure. I'm going to give you an example of how this plays out and it might make more sense for you. No Martha here. Good, Tammy. Good. We don't have to deal with Martyr Martha over there. I am a social worker. That's what my degree is in. And I don't know if there's any other social workers in the room or if you know social workers or if you're familiar with the profession. But basically, we're taught to be social justice advocates and therapists, exactly, social justice advocates who are meant to pour into everybody else and expect to be paid like next to nothing, like just enough to survive in order to make sure that people have access to resources. And there's a collective belief within the mental health field that you have to sacrifice your own well-being and desires for wealth in order to be a good therapist or be a social worker or be an activist or be a facilitator of change or be a light worker or massage therapist or even other people like that too. There's other industries too that this definitely perpetuates in. And this idea that I can't be paid a lot of money because I'm doing deep inner work with people, or because I'm spiritual, or because I'm even, and this is even a lot, and I'm just going to speak to religion. I won't use a specific religion, but like even in religions, we see this happen a lot. This is like the Mother Teresa complex almost, you know what I mean? But if we live in this place, then we are never going to be able to create the type of lifestyle where we feel like our desires are met, where we feel like our needs are met, and then we can actually serve people at a higher level. There's always this thought for Martyr Martha that she's taking away from somebody else by having more. That if she has more, there's less for someone else. How many of you believe this about money? That if I have more money, that means someone else is losing out. That if somehow my clients pay me more, then that means they're going to suffer and I'm going to be up on this hill and I'm going to feel terrible about that. This plays out big time. I believe transcend is like the starving, or yeah, it's like the starving artist. Exactly. We could have done the starving artist part here, right? So I want you all to be creative around how you do these parts. This is for you to reflect upon and say, hey, oh, I have aspects of that one. I have aspects of that one. One of the ones I didn't include in here that I'll talk about for one moment that I just realized while I was doing my own parts work and shadow work the other day was I have a doomsday. I have a doomsday prepper that lives in my chest. And she lives in my chest, and she's in there like packing up all the resources and hoarding all the things. Like I went in and I saw her, and she has like the frazzled hair, and she's like all over the place, and she's stacking the things on the shelves, and she's doing all the things, and she's prepping for the day that I fuck it all up. She's like ready for whatever other part to fuck it all up. Probably like my overspender part or the other things that I have going on in my own little system that I have. But she's the doomsday prepper. That's where my anxiety is. That's where the anxiety lives, in there. Maybe some of you have a doomsday prepper too. I think of it like the remember the couponing shows where they would go in and their whole garages would be stacked with shit, right? Like that's my doomsday prepper. Okay, so let's go into, let me see here. Let's do Woo Woo Wendy, because I feel like a lot of you are going to understand Woo Woo Wendy. So Woo Woo Wendy lives off in the ethers and loves to visualize success and make vision boards. Her avoidance patterns are rituals, ceremonies, energy healing practices, sound baths. She uses her crown chakra to escape, and her divinity as disassociation. She lives off in woo-woo land, doing all of the things, and she never actually grounds into action. And sometimes when she does, she'll start taking the action, she'll start doing the things, but then she finds herself wondering, maybe I need to do more healing work, and runs off into a pattern of healing and energy work and clearing and journaling and all of the things. And she never actually grounds down into the 3D because she's scared that if she does, she's going to take action and she's going to fail, or she won't commit again. And if she does, that she's actually going to have relationships with people, people are going to leave her. She fears commitment, betrayal, and failure. Who has a woo-woo Wendy in their protection pattern? I have a little bit of woo Wendy, but I do feel like I'm more grounded in my woo than that. Very good. Like, and these are different parts that are going to show up for you in different ways. So I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to talk about your representative. Let's see here. Who do I want to do? I'm just going to read them off. We have Logical Lucy, Perpetual Student Sheila, Perfectionist Paula, No Time Nancy, Righteous Helper Helen, and Burn It Down Brenda. Let's talk about Logical Lucy. I love Logical Lucy. Let's talk about her. So Logical Lucy, or no, you know what? Let's do Perfectionist Paula, because that's what a lot of you guys broke up. That's what a lot of you guys brought up. So it's all or nothing with Perfectionist Paula. It's either she's the best or she's not even fucking trying. If she doesn't know that she can't do it right, she's not going to be great at it, then she's like, why the fuck should I even try? I'm going to suck anyway. It's literally black or white thinking with this one. And so nothing that she ever does feels good enough. Nothing that she ever does meets her own standard or her own expectations. So she's constantly telling herself it's shit and she's not good enough. Even when other people are telling her, you're so great, you're so successful, wow, you're doing so amazing. In the back of her mind, she's like, nope, I suck. And this isn't enough. I'm not as successful as I want to be yet. How many of you don't give yourself fucking credit for everything that you've accomplished? Like, I'm looking at all of you right now, and I know all of you have some success and you are not giving yourself credit for what you've accomplished. This one is a huge one that we touch on in Ascension, because so many high achieving women are plagued with perfectionism. But she works hand in hand with procrastination. She works hand in hand with procrastination. What did I name her? Procrastination Paula and Perfectionist Paula are the same person. They work hand in hand, because if she knows that something is going to be a little bit harder or she's going to suck, then she'll just procrastinate on it, drive herself crazy, get off on the anxiety and the stress and the chaos of not having it done, and then get it done. Perfectionism, oh my God, this one is like, it is the cancer, it is the emotional cancer of high achieving women. And then it leads to imposter syndrome. So we could have the imposter syndrome part. So our parts usually work in little clusters together where like they each feed off of each other. So if we were to look at your parts cluster, and we go way deep into this inside of Ascension, y'all, like we're going to learn there's firefighters, there's managers, there's all different parts, but we're looking at our protection parts right now. But like the procrastination Paula, perfectionist Paula, and then the imposter syndrome all work together. It's like this little cluster, this little network of mind fuckery and emotional fuckery that keeps us from never feeling like anything that we do is good enough or feeling like we're successful enough. But here's the kicker, and it's so beautiful, is that when we can turn the volume down on these, the greatest asset that you can have as an entrepreneur is seeing that you're really good at what you do. Because when you're confident in what you do, that shit's magnetic. Have any of you ever, and like I talked about this in a post, and maybe some of you will remember it, but I was like, why shadow work makes you so much better. You know what I mean? It makes you drop the good girl bullshit and give zero fucks. And how, like, when we see coaches who are like, oh my God, how does she just show up and do that thing? And how does she talk like that? And how is she so confident? And then you're magnetized to that person. You end up hiring them or you end up following them. It's not because they have some magic strategy that you don't. It's because perfectionist Paula, procrastination Paula, and imposter syndrome fucking, I don't know, I can't think of a Sally, fucking don't, like, they're not driving the bus. They live there. Ingrid, thank you. I was trying to think of an I was like, I was like, Anana kept coming in. I'm like, no, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. So like, this is the thing, is that when we can start to learn how to release this perfectionism, because at the root of it is just fear of being judged or rejected or ridiculed, because we believe that we're not good enough. And I honestly roll my eyes sometimes at this point when I'm like, you're good enough. You know what I mean? Like when we hear like that chant of like, you're good enough and you're worthy and all of that, especially if you've been in this game for a long time, it's like, that's like preschool self-development. Like we know that shit, you know what I mean? But it's like, really it boils down to that. At the core of all of this is not feeling good enough. If it's an onion and we get to the center of the onion, at the center of the onion is I'm not good enough. Right? So what we really have to look at, and a big part of what we'll do in Ascension, is going into the core wound. How do we find the core wound that led to this? And there might be several core wounds that live around this system of parts, right? And so we're going to go in and we're going to start to uncover and heal those things. If you identify with the perfectionist, put a heart in the comments. I'm curious to see if everybody here, for my own research and development purposes, I'm wondering if everybody here has the perfectionist part. Yeah. The hearts are coming in quick. The hearts are coming in quick over here. Yeah, this is a huge one for me. It was a huge one I had to let go of, and I'm still constantly evolving in it, right? It's the thing that makes us sit down to write a piece of content and say, I suck and I have nothing to say. I don't know what to post. This is garbage. The comparison scroll, the doom scroll of social media of look at what she's doing and look at what I'm not doing. And oh my God. And da, 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 da. So I totally see you. I get it. I understand. I know what it feels like. And from my own experience, I can't know what it feels like from your experience, but I know for me, it fucking sucks. And it's a really hard thing to move through. But all of the work I have done, like if we were to put a volume on it, the volume was at 10 when I started my business. And now it's at like a 4, you know? And like, that's a really good fucking place to be for me. Cause most of my life, perfectionism drove the 4. I grew up as a ballerina. Did anybody else here grow up in like sports or anything like that? Because that will contribute to this. I grew up as a ballerina. So perfectionism was expected. You were expected to be perfect. Yeah, gymnastics. You were constantly being judged and measured and peered at and told that you weren't doing it right. And there's a shadow to everything. That was a beautiful experience in my life. It developed me. I'm grateful for that. But there's also the shadow aspect of everything, right? And the shadow aspect of that is perfectionism. So now that you guys are going to get more, running track. Yeah, absolutely. So the thing, but it also makes us better entrepreneurs. I just want you to understand that it's like when we have those experiences of being coached and being on teams and performers and stuff like that, it makes you a really great entrepreneur. So, Yeah, the money status and looks for women in my family. Looks is a huge one. So let me talk about that for 1 second before we go into the representatives and moving through that. I used to not be able to show up on camera without makeup on. How many of you struggle with this? This was like a huge thing I used to promote Ascension with, actually, is that I actually got shamed one day online for not wearing makeup on a live, because when I first started my business, I was committed to breaking that habit. I was like, I'm not going to show up with makeup. I'm going to show up imperfect, messy. I would take videos from bed. Like, I didn't give a shit, right? Because my brand is imperfection. It's like ditching the perfectionism. So when I went live one day, and this woman was like, you look terrible. You need to put makeup on. Like, literally, those were like the words. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that was like it. She might have used a different word than terrible, but like that was what she said. And I was like, like, oh my God, like it's happened, right? And of course, my first like intellectual response was like, oh, that's her projection, and all of my coach brain and over analytic intellectual fucking intellectualization kicked in, and I was able to dispute it, but I felt it in my body. My body felt it. And I was like, oh, like I had to move through that. And it actually became this really powerful and teachable lesson. And it literally happened right when I was coming back. I'm going to talk about how I died on a mountaintop tomorrow and the end process of like when I went through the ascension work that I'm teaching. But it happened right as I was coming back from that experience that happened. And I remember I felt it, but I remember thinking to myself, this would have like crumbled me, because I did get some hate in the beginning of my career. I wore a crop top at one time on a picture, and somebody said, look at this fucking fraud, she's just scamming you all. I was like, because I'm wearing a crop top, dude? I'm like, fuck, shit. But it's so ingrained. Those patriarchal beliefs around women and how we're supposed to look and all of that are so ingrained and internalized inside of us that they just project all over the fucking place onto each other. But like that happened. But I remember thinking to myself when it happened after I went through the process, and I was coming back from that trip of being like, wow, like I wasn't really as triggered as I would have gotten before by this. Like it was fleeting. I was able to process the feeling, let it move through me, and it didn't really have a residual effect on me. And I immediately turned it into a lesson for my audience and attracted clients into my world to join the Ascension program that I launched right after that experience. And it was like, oh, like this is a different me showing up. And that was a really beautiful experience. But the idea that we have to look a certain way or we're not pretty enough, I used to carry the belief that I wasn't pretty enough to be successful. Like I'm not pretty enough to be successful. I don't look like the Amanda Francises and the Beyoncés of the world, right? So like therefore I'm not going to be able to be successful. And that is such bullshit. It's such garbage, but it's in there, right? And we have to be real about where these live and the beliefs that we hold. Mine was I'm too old and not relevant. Yeah, I work with a lot of women who have that one too. And it's, you know, again, we know it's not true, but how do we process it appropriately through our body and through our subconscious so that it doesn't run the show anymore? So it's not acting out behind the scenes and telling us we can't, or we're not allowed, or it's not going to happen for us, right? And so I appreciate you sharing that here, because I bet a lot of women can relate to that as well. You know, I'm at a place now where I'm starting to realize I am getting older, and I'm like, oh shit. And I can start to see how some of these beliefs are showing up for me. And maybe they should have shown up for me years ago, but I was just still feeling like I was 25. But like now I'm going to be 37 and I'm like, oh, I'm getting real close to 40. And not that that's old, but society tells us that when women start to enter a certain age that we should start worrying, right? We should start worrying. And so it's really important that we understand where our protective parts are coming in when those beliefs show up. So there's some things we need to know about the protectors before I go in. We'll probably go for about 15 more minutes. Absolutely, because I just turned 47. Yeah, I work with women that are like in their 60s and 70s, some of my clients, and like we've had this conversation a lot. So I totally hear you. And I witness you in that. But the one thing I know is that like women, when they get older, man, they are a fucking force. Like there is literally nothing that can fuck with us. And we are so fucking beautiful when we approach that age and we start to really own it and embrace it. Like I don't know, like I'm so drawn to women who are older than me. I love being around them. I love learning from them. I think they're so beautiful. And like, that's just my own experience with it. But I just want to offer that to you as we're talking about it. So at the core of all of our protectors is this feeling of fear and unworthiness. They just want to feel safe because they fear something bad is going to happen to you. They're trying to protect you, that core essence of you, that limitlessness, that love, that light, that whimsical wanderlust. They're trying to protect that from being harmed or diminished or hurt or judged or ridiculed. And so we have to honor them, right? We have to honor them because they're really just trying to do a job that they thought they had to do, because at some point that part of us was harmed or wounded. And so they just want us to feel safe because they fear that something bad might happen. Now, there are core wounds around each of these parts and these protection patterns that are asking to be somatically met, released, and reprogrammed in your body and in your belief system. There are also these energetic cords that need to be cut to the past that we have, to relationships and experiences that contributed to those core wounds. And this is really what it all boils down to, right? So again, this is something that we're doing inside of the Ascension program. But for now, what I want you to do is I want you to identify your protectors, and I want you to see what patterns they've created. And once you do that, I want you to thank them for how they've helped you. I want you to then make the decision with them that you no longer need to be protected, because at your core and at your true essence, you are enough. You have always been enough. You are strong enough. You're smart enough. You're pretty enough. You're valuable enough. You're creative enough. God made you the way that you are, and there's literally nothing that can diminish or add to your worth, because you're inherently worthy and you are already deserving of love, belonging, and all of the money and blessings and impact and visibility and goals that you have for your life. And after we can come to that place of truly honoring these protectors, then we get to look at how have we organized these together to create our representative. How many of you are familiar with the term your representative? How many of you have heard this before? If you know who Glennon Doyle is, you may have heard this before. So Glennon Doyle talks about the representative. The representative is the false self that we send forward to meet everyone, the way that we portray ourselves. So your representative may be the perfectionist, or it might be the perfectionist and Martyr Martha together. Or it might be the logical Lucy that we have in there, and procrastination Paula. There's a representative that you've created that you send forward. You can also think of this as your mask, right? Or the fabricated, acceptable part of you that you send forward. Yeah, the representative can change too. Absolutely. And that's our goal here, is when we understand the protectors, we're going to be able to see the representative differently, because the representative is usually one of them or pieces of our parts that we've put together, that we've deemed this version of ourselves to be acceptable to move forward. So in the story above, I told you that I had fabricated this representative that I sent forward into my business. She was the professional. She was the perfectionist. She was the altruistic, doesn't really want to talk about money too much, right? Person. Didn't really own the fact that I wanted to show up and express myself in a way that was a little bit edgy and sexy and all of that, because I didn't think that it could be accepted by my audience. I didn't think that people would hire me. So I had a representative that I sent forward. Also, your coach, the identity of coach can be your representative. So it's like, I show up as the coach. I'm Coach Katie, and this is how I show up, right? And it's like, you can't connect to someone when you're sending forth an inauthentic version of yourself, or only a piece of yourself. Your audience, the way to get more people into your programs is to show up from your truest expression, from authenticity and full expression, without fear. Or let me not say without fear, with courage. Fear will be there, courage will be present. So like when we're able to do this and integrate and see where we've put these pieces up, then we can start to peel back that representative and now recreate and rebirth ourselves as that woman. And a huge part of what we're going to do in Ascension is a rebirth process. It's a rebirth ritual. It's a somatic process that I created. It's my unique method that will fucking blow your mind. But what I have found is that when I try to just do this with my mind, it doesn't work. You have to bring your body on board. There has to be this somatic release of the energetic attachments and the habitual emotional patterns that we have connected to this, right? And there has to be safety created in the body to fully show up authentically. So this representative that you've created, she's probably your ride or die protector. She's like the one that's been there through since childhood, right? And you know, my perfectionist has been with me since childhood. Straight A student, ballerina, you know, all of the things, until all of a sudden one day I was like, fuck that. No, I'm not getting what I need being the perfectionist. So then I went into the rebel mode. And that was when my drug use started and all of that. So the perfectionist and the rebel is the shadow. The rebel is a partner with the perfectionist too, because when the perfectionist stopped working and you're fucking done playing that role, then you might go into the, I don't give a fuck, I don't care what anybody thinks mentality. And you start telling, I don't give a shit what you think about me. It's like everybody gives a shit what people think about them. Like, so so, you know, but we all know that person who you're like, well, we know that people, that you really give a big shit what people think about you, but you're just saying that. How many of you know a person like that, or have worked with clients like that, where they come in and they're like, I don't care what anybody thinks, like, and then you get down to the core of it and they're like, I'm scared, you know, and it's like, we know, we knew all along. But like, this is where we're going to see how the representative might have changed over the years, but there's somebody present now. So who is it? Who's the representative that you're sending forward into your business now? And then we can start to look at building a persona around her, because the more we can personify this thing, the more we can actually start to have conversation with it and begin to change it. So your homework for today is going to be a few things. All right. Before I jump into the homework, let's stop for a minute, because we've had a lot of information today. Can we have confused Connie? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. Yes, confused Connie can totally be part of the process. They all get to come. They all get to come. They all get to come onto the bus and take the ride with us. But we have to drive. We want to drive. That's all we want to be doing. So let me ask you all a question. After everything that we've gone through today, which is a lot of information, we've been here for a little bit over an hour now. What's landing for you? What's landing for you big time right now? My camera's like going crazy today. Yeah. Identifying my patterns and how they lead down repetitive paths. Tonight's homework is going to help you guys get really clear. Today was really just about like identifying and understanding these concepts. Tonight, you're going to have an opportunity to really go deep into your own experiences and patterns to identify what's happening inside of your business right now. For me, it's getting clearer on my representative. I love that. Just gonna give a second if anybody else is still typing. And Tammy, this next assignment is going to help you get super clear on her. The first one that I give is all about the representative. Okay. If anybody's still typing, I'll check it when I come over there. I'm going to have to really sit with this. Yeah, for sure. So the representative, this is going to be your homework for tonight, is getting clear on who your representative is and understanding how your protectors are creating patterns. Like, what patterns are these protectors creating specifically in your business and with money? So we've taken in a bunch of information. So let's all just let our mind begin to sit with some of these concepts, not to feel overwhelmed like you have to get it all. You can come back and watch this again. You're going to have access to the replay. So there's no need to feel urgency to understand it all at the highest level right now. Like, you can always come back and watch it if you forget something or you want to understand it more. But what I really want you to think about is taking to the best of your ability what you learned today and then reflecting on it and answering these questions that I'm going to give you, because the questions are going to give you more clarity than the information will. You have the answers inside of you. One thing about me is that I coach from the belief that you already have all the answers inside of you that you need. It's just up to me to give you some information and then ask the questions that you need to unlock those answers, just like we did last night. So what we are going to do tonight is get clear on these two parts of ourselves, the representative and the protectors. So number one, and you're going to have access to this, the handout's there, everything's written out for you. The number one question is, who is your representative? I want you to name her, him, they, and tell them to and then reflect on how you are using her to protect yourself, or them to protect yourself from being exposed or find out. So how are you using your representative? You're going to name them and then ask, how am I using this person, your representative, to protect myself from being exposed or find out? How does she help you? How does she not help you? Who are you without her? And why do you appreciate what she's done for you? And again, all of these answers are there. So you're just going to consciously journal on each of these and see what comes through. Now, the rest of the homework, I'm not going to read every single question to you for the homework on the protectors, but basically you're identifying who are your top 3 protectors, and you're going to be asked questions to identify what patterns they're creating in your business. And then at the end, there's a journal script for you to write out. Now, I included all these 3 different types of responses because each of you are going to find your answers in a different way. Some of you are going to need to ask questions to yourself and then respond, where are my generators at? This helps me so fucking much when I ask myself questions and then respond. But also some of you might enjoy journaling. But I really want everyone to do the journaling prompt, because I'm going to read it to you and you're going to write it out in your journal. And it's a very powerful prompt. So open ears, open heart. I deeply love and accept myself. I can see how all of this is beautifully constructed strategy by my subconscious, created to protect me from perceived harm. But now it has become a liability in my business. I am a grown-ass woman now, and I can trust myself to feel and protect myself if I need to. I am no longer willing to run off these subconscious scripts and shadows. I am so grateful for how these parts served me in the past, and I'm so grateful that this is completely in my control to change. So what actions am I willing to take? Am I going to take to disrupt my unique flavor of sabotage, reformat my representative and protective part? And I'm sorry, what actions am I going to take to break this unique pattern of sabotage that I have created? And that's it. And then you can respond on it. But the reason I want you to write that out is because I want you to write that letter to yourself. I want you to write that affirmation and those words of love to yourself, so you can do that afterward. Okay, that is going to be the homework. So really quick, let me jump over into the chat and see what's going on. Again, everything that we did today is going to be uploaded in the Facebook group. You don't have to worry about it. You can go through and read it all. You can go through and read it all in 20 minutes. Everything I said today is written out on the thing. So you don't have to come back in and watch it if you don't want to. If you're having trouble, if you're like, what did she say? Just go look at the handout. Yes, go, ask the questions and then journal manifesting generator here. Yeah, exactly. So if you're a sacral and you're a responder, you're probably going to want to just ask those questions to yourself and then respond. Or maybe you're not a writer. Another thing that I have found really powerful is voice memoing myself on Voxer. And it's really powerful to just kind of like coach myself. You might sound like batshit crazy, like you're talking to yourself, but sometimes I'll just coach myself in a Voxer note. You know what I mean? And it's super powerful. I've had amazing breakthroughs doing that. So with that being said, we have some breakaways. We know who our protectors are. Does anybody have any questions about today's training or about the homework that you have? Go ahead and pop that in the chat. And again, while you guys are putting those questions in, I am going to put all the information inside the Facebook group. I'm also going to, you're going to get an email with the replay. The replay will be uploaded in about an hour. And then I am also going to put the information around Ascension inside of the Facebook group if any of you are interested in joining. Let me see if anybody's typing. Thank you. You are welcome. I love you all so much. Go do your homework. Don't forget, you get points if you take a picture of your homework and tag me and share about an insight or a breakthrough that you're having. I love you all so much. Go do the things, and I will see you tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow is our integration process. Okay, so tomorrow we're getting the tools and tips on how to bring all this together and integrate these shadows. All right, love you all. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.